The Hog That Dare Not Hunt by Day. Chapter 2. The Black Pearl carried a mixed cargo. Officially in our hold were lead and black copper for the English arsenals at Ainsworth, a small amount of mercury from the Almaden mines, 100 lengths of blue velvet from Venice and Carcassonne, 6 hogsheads of Malaga cinnamon, 4 of Spanish salt, and 50 wheels of cheese from Antwerp. Unofficially, Uncle Jack was in possession of 100 lengths of Parisian silks and 2 fine emeralds from Amsterdam. In my possession, concealed inside my doublet, were 20 copies of Martin Luther's latest manifesto, fresh from the presses in Wittenberg. In my locker were 200 more of the same. When we anchored near the Steelyard dock and the customs men came aboard, I bade them a right good morning and slipped quietly ashore. Uncle Jack, being captain and owner, was forced to remain on board until the inspection was completed and the manifest signed. Perhaps I should explain about the Steelyard. It was, in a manner of speaking, a city within a city. It sat on the banks of the river at the foot of Cannon Street, a 2-storied structure of hewn stone. From the outside, it looked much like a fortress, with a squat tower, part of a battlement, and an enormous iron-banded gate that was closed and guarded at night. The yard belonged to a group of prosperous Hansa merchants. Here, these foreigners shipped and sold goods. Most of them resided within its walls, having many facilities for comfortable, even luxurious living. Furthermore, they were protected by the king and enjoyed privileges that even the citizens of London did not possess. In return, English merchants across the channel in Antwerp and Amsterdam owned similar establishments, which were also protected and held special privileges. The Steelyard's ground floor was arranged for the display of goods. Toward this part of the yard and to the establishment of Hans Schwerzfeger, I now made my way. Herr Schwerzfeger was one of the least prosperous of the German merchants, yet he turned a tidy profit in lace and other items of women's wear. I had met him only once, when in June of the previous year he had come aboard the Black Pearl to buy a collection of French ribbons, but I knew that he held Martin Luther in great esteem, as did many of the other German merchants. I was hopeful, therefore, that he might purchase the pamphlets that I had brought with me from Antwerp. But as chance would have it, whether from lack of interest or fear of consequences, Herr Schwerzfeger was not in the market for the Luther Manifesto. He did, however, give me the name of a young man who he thought might be interested. His name is William Tyndale, the merchant said. I have heard him preach at St. Dunstan in the West, and from what he preached, I judged that he would be a likely market from any late news from the German firebrand. Herr Schwerzfeger did show sufficient interest in the Luther Manifesto to ask me what it contained. I know not, I said, which was the truth. Herr Schwerzfeger, as I remembered him when he had come to buy ribbons, was a tight-fisted little man who could skin you and smile and at the same time make you smile too. Leaving the Steelyard, I walked the short distance from St. Dunstan's, where I learned from the beadle that William Tyndale would preach the following afternoon. Not being interested in preachments, I asked the beadle where Tyndale lived, thinking I might call upon him. Beyond the river, the beadle answered. A lot of country lies in that direction, I said. Can you be a little more specific? Upstream, I think, near Ludgate. Ludgate's on this side of the river. So it is. So it is, said the beadle, and gave me a long look beneath a bang of lank hair. What is the nature of your business with Master Tyndale, if I may inquire? Nothing urgent, I trust? No? Well, you might try looking for him around St. Paul's. Among the bookstalls, perhaps. I've seen him there on occasion. A cloud kisser, Master Tyndale is. Always got his nose in a book. But he's most apt to be at home at this time of the day. He does a lot of scribbling. Deciding that the beadle was pretty much of a dizzard, and that if he knew where Tyndale lived, he had no intention of telling me, I thanked him and left. On the chance that Tyndale might be at St. Paul's, I set off in that direction. The bookstalls at St. Paul's were mostly empty, and at the first I approached, only one person was browsing. The clerk knew Master Tyndale by sight, and for some reason took the trouble to go in search of him among the other stalls. He came back with the word that Tyndale was nowhere about, but that he would be preaching, as the beadle had said, from the pulpit in St. Dunstan's on the morrow at 11 o'clock in the morning. Do you know by chance where he dwells? I asked. Yes, in the parish of All Hallows Barking, at the residence of the cloth merchant Humphrey Monmouth. That lies at a considerable distance. Just a nice stroll for a young man of your proportions, said the bookseller, proceeding to give me a detailed account of how to find the parish. I wondered whether he was instructing me if I should ask him if he would be interested in the Martin Luther Manifesto. But in the end, I decided against it. A bookseller at such a prominent location as St. Paul's, I reasoned, would need to be careful of what he bought and sold. My reasoning was wise, as the events of the morning proved. End of chapter 2.